Alexander the Great stood before the most powerful empire on earth. He had conquered Persia. He had crossed the Hindu Kush. He had never lost a single battle. And he was afraid, not of an army. He exists in a state that every system of power, every empire, every corporation, every social hierarchy is specifically designed to prevent you from reaching. Because the moment you genuinely need nothing from the world loses every lever it has over you. Welcome to Silent Mind Academy. Before we can understand the man who needs nothing, we must understand exactly how need works, and why the modern world has engineered it to be infinite. You were born needing very little. Food, warmth, safety, the presence of someone who cared whether you lived. Everything else you need, the approval of strangers, the validation of your peers, the status symbols that mark your place in the hierarchy, the constant reassurance that you are liked, respected, seen. These were installed carefully, systematically, over decades. The philosopher Epictetus understood this with a clarity that should be disturbing. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no property, no freedom of movement, no legal rights. His master once twisted his leg, slowly, deliberately, to demonstrate his power. Epictetus reportedly smiled and said, "You are going to break it." And when it broke, he said, "Did I not tell you?" He felt no fear, no rage, no desperation to please his master into stopping. Because Epictetus had understood something that his master, a free Roman citizen with wealth and power, had never grasped. You only have power over a person who needs something from you. His master needed Epictetus's compliance, his labor, his fear, his acknowledgement of the master's authority. Epictetus needed none of these things from his master. And so, at the deepest psychological level, Epictetus was the freer man. This is the architecture of need. And the modern world has built an entire civilization on top of it. Every notification you receive is designed to make you need validation. Every metric, followers, likes, salary comparisons, performance reviews, is designed to make your sense of worth conditional on external measurement. Every advertisement is a careful engineering of artificial need, the creation of a gap between what you have and what you are made to feel you require. You are not naturally needy. You have been made needy by a system that profits from your need, that requires your need to function, and that will work continuously and invisibly to ensure that your need never reaches zero. The man who needs nothing is the system's greatest threat, not because he is aggressive or rebellious, but because he is simply unreachable. Diogenes of Sinope was not always the man in the barrel. He was born into a wealthy family. His father ran the mint in Sinope, a position of considerable power and influence. Diogenes had everything the world offered. And then, through a series of events involving his father's corruption, exile, and disgrace, he lost it all. Most people, losing everything, spend their lives trying to get it back. Diogenes did something that nobody in recorded history had done quite so deliberately and quite so completely before. He decided that losing everything had been the best thing that had ever happened to him. He began systematically removing every need he could identify. He gave away his possessions. He ate what he could find. He slept where he could sleep. When he saw a child drinking water from cupped hands, he threw away his drinking cup, his last possession, realizing he had been carrying an unnecessary need. He called this process defacing the currency. The currency he meant was not money. It was the artificial value system that society stamps on a thing's status, wealth, reputation, comfort, in which most people spend their entire lives collecting without ever questioning whether the currency is real. Diogenes was not performing poverty. He was not making a political statement. He was conducting the most radical psychological experiment in ancient history, testing exactly how little a human being actually needs to experience genuine freedom. His conclusion was this: almost everything you think you need, you do not need. And every unnecessary need is a chain. And every chain is held by someone else. The Stoic philosopher Crates, who became Diogenes' student, took this further. He was wealthy. He voluntarily gave his entire fortune away. His reasoning was precise and disturbing. He calculated that every possession he owned required a corresponding amount of mental energy to maintain, protect, and worry about. The fortune was not making him free. It was making him a servant of his own wealth. This is what Diogenes called the doctrine of subtraction, the idea that freedom is not achieved by addition, by accumulating more, owning more, achieving more, but by subtraction, by identifying every need that has been installed in you and asking, coldly and honestly, is this actually mine? Or was it given to me by a world that profits from my having it? There is a deeper layer to this that Diogenes did not fully articulate, because it requires a confrontation that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The most paralyzing need is not the need for money or status or approval. It is the need for the universe to make sense. Albert Camus spent his life writing about what he called the absurd, the collision between the human need for meaning, order, and justice, and the universe's complete indifference to that need. The universe does not care about your suffering. It does not reward virtue. It does not punish cruelty with any reliable consistency. It does not confirm your importance or validate your existence. Most people respond to this realization in one of three ways. They deny it, choosing the comfort of religion or ideology or narrative that gives the universe a meaning it does not naturally possess. They despair, collapsing into nihilism, depression, the conclusion that nothing matters. Or they do what Camus called philosophical suicide. They simply stop looking directly at the truth and fill their lives with enough noise and distraction that the question never becomes unbearable. Camus proposed a fourth response. He called it revolt, not political revolt, psychological revolt. The decision to look directly at the indifference of the universe, to need nothing from it in terms of meaning or justification or reward, and to live fully anyway. To create meaning rather than receive it. To act without the guarantee of cosmic validation. This is the deepest form of needing nothing. Not just needing nothing from people. Not just needing nothing from institutions or hierarchies. Needing nothing from existence itself. No guarantee of fairness. No assurance of reward. No promise that the effort will be recognized. Camus' image for this was Sisyphus, the man condemned by the gods to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to watch it roll back down and begin again. Most people read this as a story of punishment. Camus read it as a story of freedom. Sisyphus, he wrote, must be imagined happy. Not because the boulder stops rolling, not because the gods relent, but because Sisyphus has stopped needing them to. He has separated his happiness from his circumstances so completely that his circumstances no longer determine his happiness. This is the final frontier of needing nothing. And it is the most difficult. And it is the most free. Diogenes lived in a barrel. Camus died in a car accident at 46. Neither of them is a practical template for modern life. So what does needing nothing actually look like inside a contemporary human existence? It does not look like poverty. It does not look like isolation. It does not look like the rejection of ambition or achievement or connection. It looks like this. It looks like a person who can hear no without their world collapsing, who can be criticized without their identity fracturing, who can lose without their sense of self going with the loss, who can be disliked by someone without spending 3 days reconstructing the interaction, trying to figure out what they did wrong. It looks like a person whose peace of mind is not contingent on other people's behavior, whose decisions are not primarily driven by what others will think, who does not need to win an argument to feel secure, who does not need to be the smartest person in the room to feel valuable, who does not need constant reassurance that they are on the right track. The Korean philosopher Byung-Chul Han identified what he called the burnout society, a world of people who have outsourced their sense of worth so completely to external validation that they cannot rest, cannot stop performing, cannot exist without an audience. They need the audience not because they are vain, but because without the audience, they do not know who they are. The man who needs nothing has found who he is in the absence of the audience. He has met himself in the silence. And having met himself there, having discovered that the self is sufficient without the performance, he no longer requires the performance to survive. This is not achieved through affirmation or visualization or gratitude journaling. It is achieved through the same process Diogenes used, subtraction, removing need by need until what remains is what is actually yours. This transformation does not happen in a seminar. It does not happen through a decision. It happens through exposure, repeated, deliberate, increasingly uncomfortable exposure to the thing you need most, until the need loses its power. If you need approval, the path is to act without seeking it. Not once, repeatedly, until the absence of approval stops feeling like a threat. If you need to be understood, the path is to make decisions that others cannot understand and to live with the discomfort of their confusion until the confusion stops mattering. If you need certainty, the path is to act from uncertainty, to make commitments before you have all the information, to begin before you are ready, to publish before you feel finished. Every need is a muscle that grows stronger when exercised and weaker when starved. You do not defeat a need by avoiding the situations that trigger it. You defeat it by walking into those situations repeatedly until your nervous system learns that the feared outcome is survivable. Epictetus called this practice. The Stoics built entire daily disciplines around voluntary exposure to what they feared, sleeping on hard floors, fasting, wearing inadequate clothing in winter, not as punishment, but as training. Training the nervous system to know that it could survive without what it thought it required. Diogenes called it defacing the currency. Every time you discover that you can function without something you thought was essential, you have reduced the world's power over you by exactly that amount. This is the subtraction protocol. Not dramatic, not visible, not the kind of thing you announce. Just the quiet, daily, cumulative process of discovering how little you actually need and how much freedom that discovery contains. Alexander offered Diogenes anything he wanted, any gift in the power of the world's most powerful man to give. Diogenes looked at him and said, "Stand out of my sunlight." This is the most psychologically precise sentence in ancient history. Not, "I want nothing from you." Not, "Your gifts mean nothing to me." Simply, "You are standing between me and something I already have. Move." Diogenes did not need Alexander's gifts because he had already found the only thing worth having. Not gold, not power, not the empire's protection. The ability to sit in the sunlight without owing anyone anything for it. You were not born needing the world's approval. You were not born requiring validation to feel real. You were not born dependent on the opinion of people you will never meet for your sense of worth. These needs were installed. They can be removed. Not all at once. Not without discomfort. Not without the specific terror of discovering who you are when the performance stops. But they can be removed. And on the other side of that removal is something that Alexander the Great, with all his armies, all his gold, all his conquered territory, looked at a homeless man in a barrel and recognized he did not have. Stand in your own sunlight. Academy. Welcome.